Thanks, Quinn. And welcome, everybody. And we just came out of close. So there is a report to consider coming out of closed and moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gudson, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives a report from the CBO and the Business Economic Development Manager dated February 16, 2021 regarding declaring lands at 122A King Street, Palmerston as surplus to the needs of the Town of Minto, and the Council declare the land surplus in open session and direct staff to proceed to issue notice as to comply with the town's disposition of property bylaw. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Thank you. And then the next up is Councillor Anderson, moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Gudson, that the minutes of the Town of Minto February 2nd, 2021 regular council meeting of February 2nd, 2021 closed council meeting be approved. All in favor? Carried. Additional items. Councillor Anderson. Anybody else? I got some. All right. If you have some later, let me know. Okay. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, the Council of the Town of Minto convenes in a committee of adjustment. All in favor? Carried. So this is for, now I have to get on my other screen here, sorry. Okay, this is to look at MV 2021-01 Garnet Ream, 175 Norman Street, Palmerston. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Anderson. Resolution moving committee of adjustments into committee of the whole to consider public meetings, delegations, public question periods, correspondence, reports, motions of which notice had been previously given, and other business. All in favor?
Sorry, through you, Mayor Bridge. We are, I believe, into committee of adjustment already.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I misread that.
Yep.
Sorry, I
So
meant to do the second one, which was
yep.
yeah, for the public
Agenda.
meeting and the Scarnet, and I'll start reading that here. Unfortunately, I have to, my screen is a little smaller. So I will call the public hearing to order and publicly state any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits. No two applications are exactly the same. Public hearing is to consider a minor variance application file number MV 2021-01 Garnet. Is it Ream, right? Ashley, yep, thank you. I will call the Secretary Treasurer McRobb to state the following information.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The subject property is legally described as Lot 68, Fuller and Watson Survey in the former town of Palmerston, municipally known as 175 Norman Street, town of Minto. The subject land is approximately plus or minus 0.17 acres or plus or minus 0.06 hectare in size. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a self-contained accessory residential dwelling unit with a ground floor area of 134.7 meters squares or 1,450 square feet. The applicant is seeking relief from section 16.3B and section 37.3 of the Corporation of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 01-86 as amended. Section 16.3B states that where an accessory dwelling unit is to be located on the ground floor, it shall not occupy more than 49% of the ground floor area of the rear portion of the building where the applicant is seeking to occupy 59%. Section 37.3 pertains to the site-specific C1-3 zoning and states that the minimum interior side yard must remain as existing, whereas the applicant has proposed to reduce the setback by 7 feet 6 inches. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on January 22nd, 2021, and posted on the subject property. The following comments were received. Matthew Doust, planner for the County of Wellington. Ashley Sawyer, planning technician, admin assistant for the town of Minto. And that's all I have. So back to you, Mayor Bridge, if you want to unmute yourself.
$5 fine for anybody that doesn't unmute themselves. It goes to charity. I'll just throw that out there. We'll see how that works. Anyways, I will now call the applicant or agent to provide comments. Is there an applicant with us today? I don't think would be. Okay.
No.
Then I would ask that if we could have the county planner. Matthew, did you want to take this one on? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Let me just pull up my notes here. Perfect. So before you today is a minor variance application to provide relief from the maximum ground floor area and the interior side yard for an accessory residential unit. The applicant is proposing to construct a 1,450 square foot accessory residential dwelling unit on the rear portions of the applicant's commercial use. The property is currently zoned site-specific commercial, which permits an automotive sales and service establishment. The site-specific provisions state the minimum interior side yard setback is as existing, which based on the provided sketch, the interior side yard appears to be approximately 27 feet 10 inches. The existing commercial use will remain at the aforementioned setbacks of the 27, approximately 28 feet, let's say. And with that said, planning staff have no concerns with the application as the request is minor, meets the intent of the OP and the zoning bylaw, and I welcome any questions.
Any questions for Matthew? Pretty straightforward. Okay. Ashley, did you want to make any comments from the town?
So yeah, the intent of this application, he's looking to build a shop where he can house all of his vintage automobiles indoors. And then when you look at the breakdown in terms of the percentages, it's really only asking for an additional 244 square feet from what he's already permitted to build. And then when speaking with Terry, there is belief that the setback clause to remain as existing was likely put in place when it was a repair shop and not necessarily considering the fact that an accessory residential dwelling unit is a permitted use at that time. And then prior to the issuance of a building permit, we will be asking for a grading and drainage plan just to make sure there's no negative impacts on any adjacent property owners. And Wellington Source Water Protection has been working with the applicant just to see what kind of chemicals are stored, and all of that due diligence will need to be completed before a building permit as well.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. And any questions for Ashley? Deputy Mayor Turton. We can't hear you, Deputy Mayor. You're not muted. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you all right? There you no. Uh-oh. Can't hear you.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor Turton.
Did that happened to us today in a meeting too, and I forget what something with the computer. I'm not a wizard, so at 8 IT got it fixed for them. No,
That's not helping. No, sorry. Deputy Mayor Turton could try leaving the meeting and returning
Yeah,
to see if that helps with his volume at all.
type in chat if he has a question, but
He could always email me the question and I could bring it forward until I think he just
I'll
left.
let him try to get in and
Back
out.
on?
Well,
So we will just wait to see if he's able to come back in.
here he comes. No. Did you want to email the question, Deputy Mayor Turton, or on chat even, or?
If you send me your question, I'll also send you a number that you can call in so your voice could be heard if you'd like as well.
We need him to get on. We'll need him to get on board here sometime during the. It was working before, so I don't know why.
Through you, Mary Bridge, I have sent him a phone number. Hopefully he'll receive that quite shortly. But at this time, I can advise that we did not receive anyone registered to speak to this public hearing as well.
Okay, good, because I was just going to say if anybody else had any comments. Well, here's David now.
Oh, he's probably going to need a number as well. Sorry, Dave, you're going to need the number to get in to the meeting number if they ask for it, and I will send you that as well. A webinar number of 899. I'll send it to you right now. 899-5778-0681. But I will forward that to you as well. Deputy Mayor Turton could also try typing into the chat function for his question if you'd like, or into the Q&A.
I'm not seeing anything. Here we go.
When was the last time this building was used as a commercial building?
So I don't know the exact date. I know it has been quite some time. And I know currently the applicant uses it more as kind of like his own personal garage at the moment. But he did tell me that he had been eyeing up the property for many years before buying it. And then as soon as he saw it go up for sale, he bought it privately. So.
Okay. All right with that, David. Okay, and okay, then Secretary, no other person, no other applicant or anybody want to speak against or for this? Don't see anything. So then Secretary Treasurer provides the resolutions for the committee to consider.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. It appears that if everyone was okay, I will read the one to approve.
Yep.
If you prefer, I can read it. Okay. So the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment approves the application by Garnet Rame for the property legally described as Lot 68, Fuller and Watson Survey, former town of Palmerston, municipally known as 175 Norman Street, in the Town of Minto, to permit the construction of a self-contained accessory residential dwelling unit with a ground floor area of 134.7 meters square or 1,450 square feet. Relief is granted from Section 16.3B and Section 37.3 of the Corporation of the Town of Minto Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 01.86 as amended. So you would need a mover and a seconder for that motion, Mayor.
Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Elliott, Councillor McKenzie. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried, Eileen. And
Thank
then
you.
I'll just finish up by saying, anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment in the respect of the minor variance must make a written submission to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89 Harrison OG 1Z or by email anleen@town.minto.on.ca. I will now declare this officially closed. Okay. Next up, we have a public meeting.
So through you, Mayor Bridge, we do need a resolution to move out of Committee of Adjustment into
Oh,
Committee
sorry.
of the Whole.
Yeah, thanks for that. I've got too many pieces of paper going on tonight.
If you prefer, I can read that out for you.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Bridge. The resolution is moved by Councillor McKenzie and seconded by Councillor Anderson that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment convenes into Committee of the Whole. If you want to call for all in favor.
Carried. Okay. And our first public meeting is, get it up on this one here. Public meeting to consider the amendment to the Town of Minto zoning bylaw 180186 for property located on lots 16 and 17, section 11, RP 61 RA 8500 in the former town of Palmerston.
Through you, Mayor Bridge. Oh, okay. My
Are we
fault.
not
Go ahead.
there?
This is for the 300 Toronto Street and 600 Wellington Street, County Road 123, Palmerston.
That's what I got here.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, yep. Subject property, yep. I'm reading it from, is that not right? You're muted.
That's just information I'm supposed to give. You're just going to call the meeting to order and make note if persons or public body does not make oral submission.
Okay, sorry. I'm not act as chair. What? It's in my writing. It was in my thing. Sorry. I'll act as chair of the public meeting and I'll call the meeting to order and ask Clerk McRobb to ensure that any member of the public present is recorded in the attendance record. And I will state the following: if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the town of Minto to the local planning appeal tribunal, and a person or public body may not be added to as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there's usual grounds to do so. And I'll ask Clerk McRobb to state the municipal address and legal description of the property and purpose and effect of the application and date notice are sent. There you go. Now you're on.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The property subject to the proposed amendment is located on lot 16 and 17, concession 11, register plan 61R 8500, with a municipal address of 300 Toronto Street and 600 Wellington Road 123. The subject lands are approximately 11.48 hectare or 28.37 acres in size, and the area subject to the proposed zoning and bylaw amendment is approximately 547.97 meters squared or 0.135 acres in size. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone the subject area from future development FD to industrial M1 to facilitate an expansion of the existing industrial facility. In addition, the applicant is seeking a site-specific exemption to permit a reduced parking requirement of 18 spaces, whereas the zoning bylaw required 39 spaces for the proposed addition. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on January 19th, 2021, and posted on the subject property. The following comments were received. Michelle Innocente, Senior Planner, County of Wellington, and Ashley Sawyer, Planning Technician and Admin Assistant for Town of Minto, as well as Valerie Schmidt, GSP Planning Consultant. Back to you, Mayor Bridge.
Thank you, Annaleen. And at this time, I'll ask the applicant or agent to provide comments, and I imagine that's Valerie. Is she here?
That is right. So we'll just wait for Valerie. She will get promoted, and there she is already.
Yes. Go ahead, Valerie.
And Quinn is going to show her thing that she has as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good evening, Mayor Burge and members of council. I'm Valerie Schmidt from GSP Group. I'm a senior planner, and I am here in support of the application. I should also let you know that Kurt Brunel from TG Minto has also joined and is watching this meeting virtually, as well as Hugh Handy has been involved in this application process, and he's from GSP Group as well. But just wanted to let you know all the players who've been involved in this zoning bylaw so far. I put together just a brief presentation just to go over the purpose of the application that has been submitted to the town. Next slide, please. As you know, TG Minto is based in Palmerston. The facility currently employs 650 people. For those that aren't aware, they make car parts for various models, including the Toyota RAV4, the Highlander, the Lexus, and the Acura. As you may be well aware, the existing facility has undergone previous expansions in 2002, 2006, and 2019. And now they're excited about proposing another addition to the manufacturing area. And that also includes an addition of 18 new parking spaces. The expansion is about 37,800 square feet. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the site is located at the corner of Toronto Street and Wellington Road 123. There's actually, TG Minto owns the entire property. There are two municipal addresses. They are two separate properties, and the one is municipally addressed as 600 Wellington Road 123, and the other one's 300 Toronto Street. Moving forward, when we get to the site plan application, it's the idea that these lands would be consolidated as one parcel, and we are undergoing that process currently. You can see that the property to the north and to the east, it's surrounded by agricultural lands. Also, it's on the east boundary of the town's limits, town limits. To the south and southwest, it's residential that surrounds the site. Next slide, please. Here is just a site plan to show the existing building as well as some past additions. In the red is the area that is proposed as a new addition. You can also see that there's a driveway as well. The proposed addition is actually going to function as a staging area. And this is where they would pre-assemble a line before it gets put into the manufacturing area. As well, there's also going to be two loading bays that this driveway would lead to. And this is for special shipments of very large molds. They wouldn't be a regular delivery, more infrequent, but the truck would be backing up into the loading space and then unloading the specialized equipment in that area. Also, you can see in the diagram that there's an existing barn on the property, and that would be removed. And there's also an existing residential house, and that's also owned by TG Minto. And currently it's being used by the company, and it would temporarily provide accommodations for any employees that are traveling abroad. You can go to the next slide, please. The current zoning on the property or on the site is M1, which is where the existing facility is. To the south, that is an M1 with a site-specific zoning with a holding provision. And you can see the triangular piece to the east. That's the future development, lands that are zoned future development. So if we go to the next slide, I can discuss why we need a rezoning here. The expansion to the east that they're proposing slightly infringes onto the future development lands. So the rezoning is actually just for a very small sliver of land to zone it to M1, or from future development to M1. And we would have a site-specific provision in there for a reduced parking requirement. So the total area subject to this rezoning application is about 4,900 square meters. Next slide, please. This chart just shows you how we are with the proposed expansion, how we are in compliance with the zoning bylaw amendment, except for the parking. And I should also note that the proposed addition is not going to require additional employees at this time. So the justification for not requiring, as you can see here, with the zoning as it is, we would require 39 parking spaces. We're only proposing 18, but it's justified by the fact that there's not going to be any additional employees with this expansion. That just concludes the presentation at this point. I realize that the county and the town also have planning reports to present, so I'd happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Valerie. And
You're
can we just hold our questions so we get all three reports done? Maybe that would be the best. That's all right with everybody. And the next report up will be the county planner, and who's taking this one on?
I am, Mayor.
I wondered if you were, Linda. Go ahead.
Good evening. So I'm here on behalf of Michelle. Michelle's report is the planner on the report. Valerie did a fantastic job explaining everything, so I'm just going to stick to some basics in Michelle's report. Essentially, the county has no concerns with the application. There is an official plan amendment also active to redesignate the future development lands to industrial to accommodate any future expansions. However, in this case, the applicants wanted to get going with this little addition, and we thought that we could utilize our flexibility clause in the official plan that gave us some wiggle room with the designation. So we're applying the industrial designation to this little section, and then we'll move forward under separate application with the official plan amendment, and then this addition can get going sooner rather than later. We have no concerns with anything else. We expect that there will be a site plan application forthcoming if it isn't already in place. And we have no concerns with the parking reduction. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Linda. And I'm just going to go to Ashley now and have her do a report, and we'll ask any questions on all three of you in case we have any. Go ahead, Ashley.
So the town is in favor. We do not see a problem with this. And like Valerie had mentioned before, we will ensure that at the site plan approval stage, the two properties are merged in title. I don't believe we've seen the site plan approval come through yet for the application, but we are waiting for it.
Okay. Thanks, Ashley. Okay, I'll open it up now for questions, and then we'll ask the applicant if they want to say anything. Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
Dave, do you want to ask a question?
The question I would have is it's not going to be
with another computer.
moving in more staff, but what is it? Just going to be warehousing, or are we just a shipping and receiving, or what exactly is going to be in that building? Manufacturing, or
okay.
Yeah,
I don't know who I'm at.
okay.
I guess I'm asking you, Valerie.
If Valerie knows, if not, we can ask. Again, Kurt's on the line, so he might be able to tell you that as well.
Yeah, we call it a staging area. From my discussions with Kirk, it's an area that they would assemble a line before it's being used. So they would just assemble it. Wouldn't be a line that would be in use and people working the line. It would rather just be they'd assemble it and then move it into the production area. So staging area is what we've kind of labeled it as.
Sure.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Ron. Any other questions? Okay, good. And does anybody want to speak from the company and proposed, Kurt, did you want to say anything, or? He's on the line. I don't know if he is or not. If not, that's not a problem. Anybody wishing to comment in opposition to the proposal? Hearing none.
Through you, Mayor Bridge, no one registered to speak to
I
this
didn't think
application.
anybody registered, no. And I just basically, before I just make one comment here, TG Minto has been a great corporate partner for us. I know that's probably why we're not hearing anything, because every time they do something, they do it very professionally. And thank you, Valerie, for professional approach. And I really want to thank the county and the town staff working towards this and trying to get it massaged through for now. And I know there's bigger things coming down the road, but this is kind of neat, and it's just a great facility for our community and for our economy. So pleased to see this more moving forward. Okay, so I will state that if anybody wishes to be notified of a decision of the Council of Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amended application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, NOG 1ZO, or email at anneleen@town.minto.on.ca. No further comments. I will just close this public meeting. Thank you. Thanks, Ron. Okay,
Mayor Bridge, can you hear me now?
I can. Deputy Mayor.
Hallelujah, thank you.
It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, I changed computers. I have no idea what was wrong with my.
You know, so that happened to somebody today, Deputy Mayor at the county, and they had an IT person right there, so they managed to get it fixed. But yeah, it happens.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next up, I have. It's a night of public meetings tonight. We have another one. So I act as chair of the public meeting, and I'll call the meeting to order. And Clerk McRobb, to ensure any members of the public present is recorded on the attendance record. And I'll state the following: if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Town of Minto before the bylaws passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Town of Minto to the local planning appeal tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. I'll ask Clerk McRobb to state the municipal address and legal description of the property and the purpose and effect of the application and date notice were sent. Go ahead, Annalee.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The property subject to the proposed amendment is located in Harrison, lot 15, north side of King Street, with a municipal address of 57 King Street South, Town of Minto. The subject lands are approximately 0.11 hectare or 0.26 acres in size. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone the subject area from residential zone R1C FF1 to residential zone R2 FF1 to facilitate the construction of a new semi-detached residential dwelling. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on January 25th, 2021, and posted on the subject property. The following comments were received: Matthew Doust, planner for the County of Wellington, and Ashley Sawyer, planning technician, admin assistant for the Town of Minto. And to you, Mayor Bridge. And you are muted.
Put my $5 in a minute. I will call on the applicant or agent to provide comments regarding the proposed amendment and the zoning bylaw.
Through you, Mayor Bridge, Bob Harris is in attendance. If you just wait, we will get him
Thank
moved
you.
over.
There he is. Hi, Bob.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. It's quite the technology we're playing with here, but see you in the audience there, you see.
I'm having trouble accepting it at my age.
I know. Anyways, did you want to make any comments to the application or?
No, I just thank you for taking the opportunity to let me speak to you, and thank the council as a whole, and thank the staff from the township. They've done a tremendous job, especially Ashley, in getting this thing up to where it is. And I done a similar project on Lawrence Street last year, and this I think is a very unique property. It's another 16 feet wider, so I'm putting a semi on it, but the garage and front porch, everything's going to be bigger and better, and there's no basement, and I think that's going to be good for seniors and hopefully people within the community. So other than that, that's about all I can say. And I hope to get started within the next month as soon as the paperwork's done, if you people agree with it.
Okay.
So thanks for the opportunity to speak to you.
All right. Well, just
I'll answer
here, Bob, in case there are any questions that come up.
It's fine. The night's still early.
I know. Take care. Okay. And now I'll ask Matthew, you're going to speak on the county's behalf.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. Before you today is a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the subject lands from residential flood fringe overlay zone R1C FF1 to residential flood fringe overlay zone R2 FF1. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing single detached dwelling and construct a new semi-detached with the appropriate flood mitigation measures outlined in the bylaw. This application is before you today simply because semis aren't permitted in the R1C zone, hence the R2 request. Since drafting these comments, staff have received and reviewed the applicable conservation authorities' comments, which indicated no concerns with the application. As a result, planning staff have no concerns with the application as it conforms with provincial policy, the OP, as well as the zoning bylaw, and I welcome any questions.
Great. Okay, I'm going to hold the questions till I finish with Ashley and let her do hers, and then we'll do that questions if anybody has them. Go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, so I attached Maitland Valley's report for you all to review as well. But to summarize it, it said that they're in support of the application and that this development can actually more adequately flood-proof a new structure compared to what is already there. Additionally, Public Works of the town has been in contact with the applicant. So the applicant's aware that a grading and drainage plan will need to be provided prior to the issuance of a building permit. The town will also need a servicing plan, engineering estimate, and securities up front. These are all fairly standard things that the applicant would have come across in his other developments. And the Public Works Department has advised the applicant they may need to be a bit flexible with the design just due to grading and drainage in the area and considering it's a flood fringe.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Ashley or Matthew or Bob, if you have them. Okay, Deputy Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. So we'll need a second driveway on that property?
Ashley, you want to get that one or?
I believe we will because it is a semi-detached, but that'll all come forward before building permits are issued.
And so Bob said that this lot is 16 feet wider. That means, so the footprint is going to be larger. There'll be more grade square footage on these versus the ones down on Lorne, you said?
Potentially, yes. So this is just in regards to the zoning, so just the use of the land. So we haven't seen an actual 100% footprint yet, but we will definitely review it when it comes our way.
I guess I was throwing that at Bob.
Okay.
Oh, you're throwing that at Bob. Okay.
What was your question?
I forgot.
Well, it will be done more at the site plan time, I believe.
You said that this, I'm a little ahead of myself here, but you said this lot's 16 feet wider and there's no basement. So likely
The lot is wider, so I'm just incorporating the extra width into the house. So the driveway will be 16 feet each one of them. And the house or the semi itself will be 1,550 square feet, but it's still within the footprint, and there's over 4 feet on each side for side yard, like from the property line.
Great.
Okay. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Gudson. You have to unmute. There you go.
Mayor Bridge, somebody has a question at the bottom there. Just wondering what's going to happen with the trees on the property.
Okay.
There's only the one tree at the back, and we're going to remove it. It's leaning towards the neighbors on the back and the side yard. So they requested that it should be removed before the semi goes up. So that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
The front trees are going to remain. I'm a tree hugger, so we'll save every tree we can.
Okay. Then anybody wishing to comment in favor of, besides Bob, in favor of the seeing none, and anybody in opposition? Do we have anybody?
Through
Emily?
you, Mayor Bridge, no one registered to speak at this meeting other than Mr. Harris.
Good. Okay, so I don't think you have to rebut anything then, Bob. I think that's good. And I think it's great to have another opportunity, another semi, and get some more density and help people, especially what you're saying about having more level for seniors and other people that they don't have steps as much, and that's great. Okay, if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, OG 10, or email at anneline@town.minto.on.ca. No further comments. I'll adjourn the public meeting. Thank you. Adjourned. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
And our next public meeting is a big one. I'll chair the public meeting, and I'll call the meeting to order and ask Clerk McRobb to ensure that any member of the public registered and present is recorded on the attendance record. And I'll state the following: if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the County of Wellington before the official plan amendment is adopted, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there is reasonable grounds to do so. So ask Clerk McRobb to state the location of the subject land and proposed and effect of the application and the date notices are sent.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The lands subject to this application for proposed official plan amendment are located in the 3 urban centers in the town of Minto, including Clifford, Palmerston, and Harrison. The purpose and effect of the proposed official plan amendment is to adjust the settlement area boundaries of Clifford, Harrison, and Palmerston. Lands to be removed is a total of 74.7 hectare or 185 acres of land to be removed from urban centers, 59.3 hectare or 147 acres from Clifford by redesigning lands from residential, industrial, future development, core greenlands and greenlands to prime agriculture, core greenlands and greenlands, and 15.4 hectares or 38 acres of land from Harrison by redesignating lands from industrial to prime agricultural. Lands to be added at 74.7 hectare or 185 acres to Palmerston by redesigning lands from prime agriculture and core greenlands to industrial, residential, future development, and core greenlands. Lands to be added with no net increase is 6.8 hectare or 17 acres of land adjacent to Palmerston that would not result in a net increase of development land and are a part of the original town plan. There are also proposed textural changes to the policies of the official plan in the form of special policy areas that address requirements for the development of the North Palmerston planning area, as well as the former waste disposal facility. The notices were mailed to the property owners who own land and that directly impacted in the adjustment of the settlement area boundaries of Clifford, Harrison, and Palmerston on January 27th, 2021, and was also circulated in the Wellington Advertiser on February 4th and 11th, 2021. Comments were received from Bill White, our senior planner from Triton Engineer, and Linda Redmond, the manager of planning and environment from the County of Wellington. Back to you, Chair Bridge.
Thank you. And I'll call on the applicant or agent. Is that Bill doing that for us? Bill, did you get a little snow down in Texas there?
Yeah, yes, we did, and we're waiting for some freezing rain tonight. So
Oh my goodness.
been an adventure.
We feel sorry for you.
Yeah. It's
Anyway.
been fun.
So welcome, Bill. And did you want to do a little presentation for us?
Sure, if you don't mind. Hi, Annalene. Could someone share the screen and do the presentation that I had there? Is that possible?
Yeah, there we go, Bill. I think you're going to get started up here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I think I'll be fairly brief tonight. The first slide, it is a presentation I gave to you, I think, at your October 6th council meeting. The next slide, it goes into some of the history that led to this amendment. In 2017, when I was still working for the town, we started a secondary plan for North Clifford and West Palmerston. And at that time, the provincial growth plan stated that you couldn't change your urban boundaries until the county was doing its 5-year review, or what they called a comprehensive review. Now, at the time was scheduled for 2020, which was last year. The North Clifford secondary plan had been public a couple times, 2017, 2018, and the West Palmerston secondary plan was public a couple times in 2018. Between that time and now, the town and the county had considerable discussion on how to implement these two plans. But as was mentioned, really the boundary expansion couldn't go ahead until the 5-year review started. And then with the government changing in 2019, the province amended its growth plan and it put in some special exemptions that could permit small boundary expansions to occur outside of the comprehensive review process. The reason we had hoped, I think, to move forward outside that process was because the 5-year review or the comprehensive review is the entire county official plan, and it involves many issues across the county and will take several months to complete. And that process is underway. And then, so between 2019 and when this amendment came forward to you last October, the whole concept was developed in consultation by the county and the province of reducing the urban boundaries in sections of Harriston and Clifford and to offset much of the increase that was to occur in Palmerston. So next slide. That is a schedule from the draft North Clifford secondary plan. And the yellows and reds, those are future land uses that were talked about in that document. Council did adopt an official plan amendment, I think later last year, late fall or early winter of 2020, to implement some of the policies in the North Clifford secondary plan. The main point to come out of that slide is that there's enough land in the North Clifford area to meet the county growth projection to 2041, which is another 165 units at the time. So that area there would be sufficient in size and could be serviced to meet that need. That made some of the areas on the south end of Clifford essentially surplus as far as meeting the 25, 30-year growth plan. Next slide, please. So in West Palmerston in 2018, we put a lot of thought into how that land might develop. And so again, that secondary plan schedule was one of the options that was being considered at the time. There's road patterns, future industrial growth, and that sort of thing. And again, the point of this slide was to show that I think the secondary plan in 2018 noted that all the growth, 635 homes for Palmerston, could not be accommodated in the urban boundary that was set at the time. And so this area was identified because some servicing work that was going to be going in that area, and because the industrial park was kind of physically separated from the rest of the urban area by some developing lands, and there was the Heinmiller subdivision in there, that this was the best area to consider expansion. One little hiccup to mention that has been addressed in the interim period was the old landfill site. I believe that's Norman Street. It's at the end of it had a 500-meter setback from it, and council commissioned a study by another engineering firm that was peer reviewed by the county that allowed that setback to reduce from 500 meters, which would have taken up almost half that area, to 30 meters. So in essence, this area where the expansion is proposed in Palmerston is more or less sort of ready to go in a sense. And we'll talk a little bit about that with some of the policies that the county is suggesting in their draft amendment. So the next slide. That's just a little bit of the background I think that I've already given you. Just to reiterate what Clerk McRobb said, that there was an 81.5 hectare urban boundary expansion in Palmerston, and the reduction that is proposed is 75 hectares in Clifford and Harriston. Next slide. So I mentioned the reductions in Clifford. That map shows the reduced areas. So the red areas or the hatched areas are primarily on the south, I guess, southwest end of, southeast and southwest end of Clifford, where there are still viable farmlands in those locations. They did leave some lands along Park Street and Mill Street that would be developable in the urban boundary. And I think that was out of some discussion between these landowners and Minto staff that occurred 2019, 2020, and around that period of time. And then there's also some reductions around John Hobelman Park or Rotary Park in that area, where the lands really aren't serviceable, and where there's town-owned lands that could be removed from the boundary. So those are the reductions in Clifford. The next slide shows the reduction in Harriston. That is 38 acres of industrial land that the town owns that kind of is not really developable easily. You may remember that in 2017, council at that time approved a class environmental assessment to extend sewer and water into other town lands at the end of John and Hutchison Street. And we determined through that class EA that sewage treatment, a sewage lift station, a reservoir, or other type of water supply, and a major stormwater management pond would be needed for that back piece. So there was a mechanism to develop the industrial lands in the front at a much more affordable approach. And so in essence, for now, those lands in Harrison that the town owns could be removed from the urban boundary. They're simply not developable or needed in the 20-25 year time scope. So next slide. That's the urban boundary increase that is outlined in green there. So that's the 81.5 hectares. It mentions on that slide the landfill study, the old landfill study that's been looked at. Only one thing to mention that's sort of a little bit different here is the land right at the corner of County Road 123 and Highway 23 is not included in this amendment. But the other parcel, the larger parcel, sort of to the west, I think many of you may know it as the Rob lands. I don't think they own it anymore, but that is included, but the ones on the corner are not. And then the next slide. This is the detailed policy information that is in the proposed amendment as drafted. The area that's purple, the big purple blob in the middle there, that's Minto Road, and that's the current town-owned lands in the industrial park. The side hatching to the west is the Rob lands I mentioned. That is going to be designated industrial as a result of this amendment. And sort of the lands to the east, which are double hatched, that's the two larger farm parcels in the back part of the Heinmiller property. Those are designated future development. So those lands will be subject to quite a large amount of study before the development can occur on those lands. And those studies by the policy approach would be a responsibility largely of the landowners or developers when the time comes. They can use and build upon the secondary plan information that the town's already done, but so that's why those are future development. And then there's a couple of other areas in that vicinity that will be residential. That's phase 1 and 2 of the Heinmiller subdivision, the lands on Lett Street, and the other lands kind of in, what's that, Jane Street? I can't remember the name of that street right there, but it's just to the east. It's a small amount of land where there was some development along the edge of the urban boundary. So that is the actual schedule, or more or less the schedule that would go in, one of the schedules that would go in the amendment itself. And so you'll have industrial land, residential land, and future development lands in the West Palmerston expansion. The next slide. So that at the time was the recommendation that was made to you. The public meeting was to be in the coming weeks, and that's what's happened. And then there was a couple notes about the technical review committee, and that is ongoing. There's population and employment information that's coming out of the county fairly soon, and the town is also doing some sharing some servicing information fairly soon that Triton has been working on. So that process is going forward. I think this amendment itself is a result of quite a bit of cooperation between the town staff and the county people, all the way up to Aldo and his group. So I think they've been excellent on this, and it's just nice to see it moving forward. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Bill. I think we'll get Linda. Are you presenting? Where's Linda? There's
I'm right here, Mayor.
Yeah, there you are.
I wasn't planning to present.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, public meeting just was here to gather all the information that comes in.
Okay, that's fine. I wasn't sure. It didn't say you were, but I just thought I better make sure that you didn't have something that you wanted to say.
Any questions though, I'm happy to answer.
That'd be great. Okay, any questions for Bill? Councillor Elliott.
Bill, maybe you could answer Heinmiller's subdivision there. That's going to be residential. Now it's going to be residential all the way up to the barn and the house, that the farmhouse and such like, or how far is ag going to go together with residential? Yeah. How's that working?
Yeah, the residential will go to partway up the property, slightly before the barn, frankly. Mm-hmm. And then the back part would be future development. So he would be carrying on his agricultural operations there, but the residential, the subdivision part will be kind of the front part, and it will be in front of the house that was back there, or is back there.
In front of the house. So probably no agriculture will be coming towards the residential area, then probably not. They won't be able to use the barn because it's too close to residential, correct?
Right, and all that, if I may, through you, Mayor Bridge, would have been discussed as that subdivision probably started sometime around 2010, 2011. So yeah, and there's a long history of that one, but yes, that will sort of have some impact on the future use of that land for agricultural purposes. Mm-hmm. But I think with the the work that's been done here, I think there's obviously a need for it in order to meet the growth
Yes,
statistics.
I agree with the residential. I just didn't know whether there'd be a conflict there between the two. Okay, thanks.
Deputy Mayor Turton, did you have a question? Then I should ask if anybody else wanted to talk on it as well.
Well, I have a comment. Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bridge. Bill, as usual, you do a heck of a job of putting reports like this together, and you make it so easy to understand. So thank you for that. You always have. So I'm questioning on the landfill, the old landfill. I mean, it's the buffer zones went, you said, from 500 to 30. So can we assume then that we've tested that and it's really well protected, it's really well put to bed, and possibly will never be an issue?
Yeah, I would say the short answer is yes. Luckily enough, that during amalgamation in the late 90s, the county was nice enough to take that old landfill site over. So the town essentially had lost that responsibility, which is probably a good thing. But the county also took it upon themselves to do remediation in the early 2000s. They moved a lot of the material into the middle. They covered it over. They put in monitoring wells, and that groundwater was monitored for quite a long period of time. And so they had all that information on hand, but it just was I guess a glitch in terms of how provincial policy worked, that even though all that work had been done and it had been more or less, I would call, remediated, the 500 meters clicked in. And so we had an engineer look at that, looked at the material that the county had, looked at the conditions on site, and recommended quite clearly that it could go down to 30 meters. And that study itself was also peer reviewed by the county. So I'm quite confident that there will be no issues from that landfill moving forward.
No, that's a really a good news situation. So thank you for that.
Deputy Mayor Turton. Okay, I'm going to also, before we go any further, just keep you, if you have more questions, that's fine. Call anyone connected in favor. Well, we already that. Anyone that wishes to comment in opposition to the proposed amendment. Anlene, I don't think
So
we did.
through you, Mayor Bridge, no one registered to actually speak at this meeting to ask to speak in favor or against.
Okay, I have something I was concerned.
There is some questions, Mayor Bridge.
Yeah, is that Sherry? Did you want it? I got one from Sherry here. Did you want to ask that, or do we just take the questions?
So through you, Mayor Bridge, you had to register before the meeting in order to do this. I mean, these are questions that could be answered by staff later on, but
right.
It was out in the paper, and there was sent to homeowners that they were to register in order to speak to the public meeting.
Yeah, and this question here would be right now anyways, because it would be covered later.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't say you have to register before. I can see if.
So that's what one of the registrants does say. So I can have Ashley look up that letter, but they should have stated that they had to register in order to speak at the meeting. If it does not say that, then we could allow the questions.
Sure. Well, if you want, I don't have a problem with it. If Bill, can you see the question?
Yes, Mayor Bridge, I can see the questions, and I can see there's another one about they live at the corner of County Road, and they pertain to property tax value and the impact. And I think those are questions that are worth asking. This is there's two steps to this. The first is the official plan designation. So in those areas that the old raw property will be an industrial designation, and there will be some policy. There's some policies that will help protect the lands beside it.
Right.
But what has to come after that will be zoning. And the zoning will lay out the specific rules for actually putting things on that land. And I think at that time, then the landowners could have something more to talk about in terms of what, if it's light industrial use and there's buffering and screening, that will tend to have much less of an impact than if, say, it was a large, a heavy industry in that location. I don't see a heavy industry going in that location. I think with the residential and properties in that location, I think that when the zoning comes forward, you're apt to see things that are much more compatible. So I would believe that there shouldn't be the kind of impacts that they're concerned about. And also, when they do come forward with the zoning, they will have a chance to voice those things at that time. And as far as value goes, honestly, property values as a result of this are likely to increase rather than decrease, because what you're seeing is the urbanization of this area. It's going to take many years to occur, but I think council will be able to take steps to minimize the impacts on them in the short term by restricting the uses and having buffering put in when the zoning comes forward. But I think in the long run, honestly, the property value issue will resolve itself.
Yeah, and there'll be, the way I read that, there'll be further opportunities when we do rezoning and whatnot on what's going in there, if there was anything going in there down the road. So, yeah, okay. Anyways, we'll try to, I understand. I'm not going to get into all the questions. We'll talk about those at a later time, because it wouldn't be at this point in time that I see it's a zoning issue when we get there, down to that spot. Anything else? Okay, then I will state the following. If you wish to be notified of
Mayor
the
Bridge.
sorry.
Mayor Bridge, I think Councillor Anderson has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Anderson. I didn't see you there with your hand up. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I just, as I'm reading through this and I look at the changes, it's not maybe a question, it's just sort of amusing. We've taken away residential space from Clifford and from Harrison in order to accommodate Palmerston, and we think we can still accommodate it. Is that still the thought with the current growth and development that's happening here right now? Because we've never seen anything like this for as long as I've lived in this community. I don't know for how long back, but are we going to have an impact? Will it restrict Clifford, say, from expanding to where it would like to expand, or Harrison, by doing all of this urban expansion in Palmerston?
Did you want to take that, Bill, or
Sure. The population projections that have been done, and these have been extended now from 2041 to 2051. And that information will be coming back to this council and all the other councils in Wellington County. This switch and trade-off does consider the fact that there's quite a bit of growth going on throughout the municipality. So I don't think that Clifford is unreasonably restricted. I think they'll be able to meet the growth projections for that area. I think that the town will want to watch the comprehensive review as it goes forward, because I've mentioned once or twice before that there's another 10 years of growth that you're going to have to plan for. And that's another 500-600 units throughout Minto. So I'm thinking that in the comprehensive review, we'll want to make sure that there are enough lands designated for the next 10 years beyond 2041. So you need to pay attention to it, but the switch that was made here is in theory supposed to accommodate all the growth needs in Clifford and Harrison till 2041.
Jean, you all right with that? Or, I mean.
Well, I mean, I gather that, but the situation in the last 2 years has changed drastically as people are looking at getting out of, and we've discovered that people can work from home. So our property, even though we all know we live in God's country, now the rest of the province is figuring that out as well. And I think the growth is just at unprecedented levels. And I mean, either way, we have to expand our urban boundaries. So we need to find the ways that work best to do that. I understand that. But I just, I'm wondering what's coming down the road, but a crystal ball would be helpful. But
So on a residential basis, Gene, we never took anything from Harrison. It was industrial up in our own area. And in Clifford, a lot of the area that we took out that would be very difficult when we had that Clifford, when we talked to the landowners, some of it is prime agricultural that has like barns on it.
Right.
Dairy. So I think we've been very careful of not taking the good pieces of property from the other two towns that could be used to develop. And I think Bill sort of said we have enough there at the moment. That doesn't mean we wouldn't want to continue to look at the overall official plan as the county moves forward. We'll keep that under advisement, but I think it's a good compromise what we've tried to come up with here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I'm just sort of, like I say, it's just musing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We find ourselves in right now. It's unprecedented as far as I'm aware of.
Yeah, well, and I think that was good planning on our part, that we didn't realize this through this pandemic, that we're going to get this big push as well. And now we are. So if we get this put through, then certainly we wouldn't have enough growth potential in Palmerston without this. So
for sure. I understand.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? And I just, before I comment, I don't know if Aldo's still here, and Linda, I just want to say thank you very much to the county for working through this. Aldo, and I don't know if you want to say anything or not, but we kind of went outside the box a little bit on this one, and we got good cooperation and working with Linda and yourself and Bill to put this together. So I hope you're happy with our results.
Yes, your worship, can you hear me? To you and council, this process took a while, as you know. We had a couple of different changes to the growth plan, and luckily, as Mr. White's already articulated, the government's allowed us to make the change, so we don't have to wait for the municipal comprehensive review to get to this point. So you know, it's a great opportunity to take advantage of this particular policy. I don't have anything to add. Bill's done an amazing job of explaining the process and the answer to questions. I think what I'll just say is, once council is supportive of the amendment, we would appreciate acknowledgement, and we would get it to planning committee and to county council and get the amendment through to the point where it's approved, and we'll just await the appeal period, and then we'll have it in play.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Aldo.
Okay.
Anybody else got anything? Good. Then I'm going to read this, that if you wish to be notified of the adoption of the proposed official plan amendment or the refusal of the, official planning amendment, or of the refusal of the request to the amendment of the official plan, you must make a written request to the Director of Planning and Development Department, County of Wellington, 74 Woolwich Street, Guelph, Ontario, N1M 3T9. No further questions. I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Go ahead, Annalene, do you have a prompt?
Sorry, through you, Mayor Bridge. I didn't know if you guys wanted to make a motion at this time to support the official plan amendment, or?
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
The motion would be that the Council of the Town of Minto supports the draft official plan amendment to adjust the settlement area boundaries of Clifford, Harrison, and Palmerston, and that we advise the County of Wellington of the Council's decision. So I know that Aldo's mentioned something, so that's certainly up to you if you wanted to put that out to your council
And
members.
I have somebody move that, Councillor Elliott, Deputy Mayor Turton, all in favor? Passed. There you go. Thank you. Okay. I'll now close the meeting. Okay. Thanks, Aldo. Linda. Delegations, we don't have any. Public question period. Oh, okay. I got correspondence. I've got a couple of correspondence there. Moved by Councillor Gusson, second by Councillor Dirksen. That the council receives the correspondence for information. Any comments? Anybody want to pull any of that comment? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Economic development. Belinda.
Yep.
There she is.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor Bridge and Council. I will be extremely brief. The focus of our meeting was all about development, as Councillor Anderson suggested. It's unprecedented growth times in Minto. So CBO Kuipers was on hand filling us in on all the stuff we've been working on in terms of residential, commercial, and industrial developments. And that's led into a further conversation about the challenges around attainable housing and what we possibly could do to ensure that people have places to live that are working at some of our factories or places in Minto, because it's challenging times for sure for people looking for homes. And then other than that, that was most of the conversation. We also had a great labor market update from Charlene. Well, maybe I wouldn't say great. Our unemployment rate in December was around 4.8%, and after the lockdown went up to 7.8%. So obviously that is not good, but Charlene does a great job of kind of keeping us in the loop of what's happening in the labor market and what trends are out there to watch for. So yeah, those are kind of the main things out of the minutes that I would point out. Other than that, if there's any questions. Excellent. Okay.
Sorry for you, Mayor Bridge. I believe you're muted.
I'm trying not to do that. Sorry about that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor Elliott. The Council of the Town of Minto receives the Economic Development Planning Committee minutes of February 11th, 2021 and approves any recommendations contained therein. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Okay. I'll turn it over to Councillor Anderson to resume the chair for the fire department.
Through you, Councillor Anderson, you are muted. There we go.
My apologies. I said I'm just trying to locate the agenda on my phone as well, because I can't get to it and see the screen here on my computer, just to find out what I'm talking about. I can just make it really easy and turn it over to Chief Harrell. That would probably be the easiest way.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Appreciate that. And yeah, Council, tonight we just brought forward to our year-end report for 2020. Something like we like to do just to bring that forward. And with me tonight, that you'll see after this is done, is the part of our new management team, Khalees Los and Marco Guidotti, who I'll introduce you to in a little bit. But they're here tonight to also answer any questions or go through anything that comes on here. So I'll be as quick as I can, but wanted to kind of show you what we've been up to and what last year looked like for us. So we can have the next slide. That's just the highlights of what we're going to go through quickly. And you'll see where we're at for 2021 goals moving forward for this year. Next slide. That's our mission statement. So we're dedicated to serve the community. It hasn't changed. We are looking to hopefully do in 2021 an update to our master fire plan, and we will revisit this to see if this is still pertains. But it does kind of show you what we aim to do every year as the fire department in the town of Minto. Next slide. And these are our values. And again, they haven't changed in a while. Believe it or not, it was almost 10 years ago when we did the first master fire plan, which was 2012. We did update it in 2017. So we are due for either an update or revamp of the master fire plan to look going forward on what we want to accomplish and what we want to keep doing. So stay tuned for that. There is as of 2020, to begin 2020, this is what our team looked like. So there's our employees that are either full-time or part-time. And then the next slide is our station deputies that were looking after each station as part of our management team when we started 2020. Next slide. This is an overview. We have 12 captains and we have over 70 volunteers. It does fluctuate with people moving in and out of towns and that, but we usually try and keep our numbers between 80 and 85 total firefighters, all volunteer. We did get 3 new recruits out of the Palmerston station. Some of the promotions you can see there, we'll point out the one that Councillor Gunson was promoted to training officer in the Harrison station, so he does look after our training in the Harrison station. We did have a couple of retirements, and noted at the bottom there, our training officer from Palmerston, John Burgess, moved to Iqaluit to become the assistant deputy chief in Iqaluit Fire. So it's very interesting listening to him and what he is going through. Recently, he posted, and I talked to him, they did a mutual aid call, but their mutual aid call involved jumping on an airplane and flying 1,000 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle to help a fire department fight a warehouse fire. So a little bit different than us just driving to a neighboring community. He has to fly 1,000 kilometers to a neighboring community to provide mutual aid. So that's interesting. Next slide. Now you can see the new partnership we formed with Wellington North. This is our new management team structure, which you passed last year and was working really well. Now Cleese is back as the beginning of January, so we're up to full speed and steaming forward. So again, I'll introduce you to everyone in a minute, but this is our new management team and what we look like as a group. Here's our statistics from last year. I won't dwell on too much, but one of the things about our department is we're pretty balanced in between calls. As you can see, medical is only 22%, motor vehicle collisions is 15%, and fire is 13%. So we're pretty balanced across the board. A lot of departments run a ton of medical calls. Their percentages are 60 to 70%. We kind of evened out. With COVID though, our medical calls have been increasing lately and throughout the end of last year and into this year. So I expect to see that number go up in 2021. Next slide. Our calls have trended down, as you can see, COVID especially, with people staying home and being more careful, really helped us out. So our calls did come down from 2018, but if I did a 10-year graph like this, you'd probably see it spike up and down, that there is no rational reason why our calls go up. But we do average usually between 200 and 250 is usually where we're about for calls per year. Our fire prevention, that's how many burn permits were issued by staff at the town office. So the front desk usually helped us with that. And then Cam took over partway through and processes a lot of burn permits, but that's a lot of burn permits that we process in the town of Minto. So we have quite a few of those. Fire inspections were down obviously because of COVID, that we limited them so that Cam was not going into as many places as he was. And he also checked out the 16 burn complaints, which I think is down as well, which is pretty good number too, considering that people were at home a lot more. And then plans reviews is just different emergency plans for different apartment buildings and different industry that we have in town. We do review their emergency plan periodically. Public education, again, like everything, I sound like a broken record, but COVID affected that. There was obviously no in-person activities. So we did not do our school visits. We did not do our Safe Kids Day. We did not have any events, which really hampered what we could do. We did do a lot more social media until Cleese went off, and then we did a little bit. Quinn, thank goodness, stepped in and helped us with that while Cleese was off, because I just couldn't do that, and she helped out a lot. We did do a Christmas Advent messaging campaign, and big shout out to Chuck Ellison on our Palmerston station. He did a great Advent messaging campaign on Facebook, which was very well received. And of course, each hall decorated again to try and boost the spirits of our community and just show that we're in it with the community and wanted to get the Christmas spirits up. Training was a up and down year. We had to switch training a lot. We went small groups to a little bit larger to small groups to no in-person training for the last while. So we are going to have a lot of catch up to do this year once we can get back to full group. The one thing that is suffering is we haven't been able to get together as one big station for a year now. So since beginning of last March was the last time that the whole stations were together at a non-emergency. So we have a lot of catch up to do and a lot of stuff that we need to work on together and get the group working together as well. So that's something that's definitely on our radar for 2021. Next slide. So the 2020 completed projects we had is we did get the agreement, as you know, with Wellington North for a shared management team. We have updated our risk assessment. We just are completing the tanker purchase to replace one of our 1993 tankers. And the renovation in Clifford is planning and drawing, and actually it's over halfway done. The contractor we have is in there working, and due to COVID is just dedicated to that project. So that project's gonna be along really, really well. And hopefully when COVID dies off a little bit, you'll be able to get there and see the renovation. So this is a conceptual drawing. That's the colors are actually flipped. The gray is going to be on the siding, and that burgundy color will be the trim. But there's going to be full brick full brick covering in the front, and we've got new garage doors. And the building is just going to get a huge update, which it really needed. And the inside we've changed a lot with the bunker gear room, proper showers, and change rooms for the firefighters. So definitely going to be a huge improvement, and it's going to be a nice addition to that corner in Clifford for sure. So on 2021, as I told you, we have a joint management team now, as I've said many times. Marco, who's on here, and you'll be able to see in a second, he's added as a deputy chief to our management team. So there's a team of 3 of us that are looking after that. The fire hall renovation project, we look forward to finishing off. As I mentioned, we're going to update the master fire plan. We've got new software that helps us keep our data. It's a very comprehensive program, and we're just in the starts of implementing it. It is going to help us with our data and be able to get a lot more of that and keep a lot more of it moving forward. So the entire county, plus the city of Guelph, Kitchener, Chatham, Kent, everybody's moving on to this data program at the same time. So that's been a big project. And we'll keep working with our tanker replacement program, which is buying used trucks or remounted trucks to replace some of our older trucks that are still in the fleet. So just a quick overview. This is what our management team looks like and what kind of the roles we're going to take to start now. So next slide. So my position is been called the Director of Fire Services for both Wellington North and Minto Fire. So it's just overseeing the department and working with the 2 deputies to manage the same thing and keep everybody on the same page. That's kind of what my role is. Liaise with both CAOs, the councils, and other municipal committees like health and safety and any other committee, the planning committees and that at both municipalities. Write the policies, procedures, all the fun stuff. But I do oversee the training programs for both, attend major incidents and help out where I can, and then the emergency backup to the CAO in Wellington North and the backup CEMC for Minto as well. So that's kind of my role. Hasn't really changed what I do for Minto. It's just added that we're doing the same thing for Wellington North. Next slide. So new to the team is as you said, is Marco Guidotti. He's going to look after a lot of the fire prevention aspects of overseeing that aspect and helping Cam with our inspections and making sure that our fire prevention is moving forward. And he's going to oversee a huge thing that he's taken on, and we see every day more and more how big it is the equipment maintenance program and repairs of both departments, and streamlining our maintenance programs, and also working with the equipment committees. Marco's done a phenomenal job with us so far, and just by doing that, having one person look at it for both, has realized a whole bunch of savings in different maintenance things that we can do together. Like bringing somebody up one time instead of twice to repair stuff is streamlined, and they all in one day can get 5 stations done. It saves us thousands of dollars by doing that. So he's done a great job with that so far, and is going to keep moving forward, streamlining them and looking at ways that we can buy equipment together and save money. So good for him for this and does a lot of that. He deals with the burn complaints and all the fire inspections in Wellington North. And he is also goes to the major incidents and acts. If I'm not there, he acts as the senior manager on the scene and that all the time. So does a great job with that. And he's overseeing the health and safety committee for both. So huge asset to the team. And as we said when we formed this partnership, is everybody has their own specialty and can take a different section and really focus on it. And that's where we're going to see huge benefit to it. Instead of Khalees and I, dabbling in different areas and not getting everything that we can done, now with a third person, they can really focus on the areas that we all need to focus on. So next slide. And then Khalees's position is Deputy Chief of Administration and Organizational Performance. It's a title we picked, but she oversees a lot of the data and the personnel records and all of that type of stuff. Works with our community partners and our public education. All the stuff that she's been doing for Minto, she's just extended that over to Wellington North. So she looks after the whole business side of our department, which has made us so successful. Especially as council knows, the community partnerships that we've been able to form and get help with funding and that kind of stuff, that's been a huge asset to us. Now we can just do it on a bigger scale and move that over. So looking forward to being able to do that on both departments and see what we can accomplish that way with more firefighters and more options moving forward for sure. Next slide. And that's it in a nutshell. Hopefully I didn't get it too fast, but if council has any questions, before they do, I just hope Marco can turn his camera on and everybody can see Marco and Khalees there. But you can see Marco Guidotti is a new member of their management team, and we're happy to have him. And as I said, he's been doing some phenomenal work already, and it's a great addition to this whole partnership. Marco, do you want to say anything?
No, just thank you for the introduction, and glad to be part of the team, and looking forward to getting rolling and saving lots of money and getting a lot of good equipment.
Councillor
Anderson, that's all I have. Sorry, Councillor Anderson, that's all I have. Thanks.
Councillor Elliott, do you have a question?
Yes, if I could through you. Okay, how do the wages break down? Like, are we 3 is our full time? Is that considered full time?
Correct.
And then our captains and our chiefs and of the department. How's that work out?
Everything remains the same as it was before. So Marco's the responsibility of Wellington North, Khalees is the responsibility of Minto, and all our firefighters remain the same. The only difference is that Wellington North and Minto split the cost for my wages and expenses and that kind of stuff. So that's the way the agreement is they split me, my salary and everything else in half, and then everything else is just separated into each municipality has their own costs.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Turton?
Thank you, Chair Anderson. Marco, just wondering, I know this is a Minto overview, but and we've got 3 deputy chiefs. You have the same, obviously, with Arthur Mount Forest?
Yes, we have 2 district chiefs.
Yeah.
One at each station. Yeah.
So to answer that, Deputy Mayor Turton, we'll transition our station guys, and it's just a title change. And as you council knows, I'm not big on titles, but our station guys will revert to district chiefs or station chiefs as their title. And then as per bylaw, the management team will be that, so that if one of us is away, then we can cover for it. So the titles are meant just to be able to back each other up in the case of emergency or a pressing need of the municipality.
Great. Yeah, thank you. That was an excellent report. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? I would just like to make a comment. This was going to be my additional business, but we unfortunately had cause to experience the benefit of having the excellent volunteer fire department that we have in town last Friday morning. And I can't say enough good about the things that you guys do, how you do it, how quickly you arrive. They were there before we knew we had a problem, basically. We were just being apprised of the situation that our drive shed was burning down. And the fire department was there. It was a miserable cold morning. It was rotten, and they were there for hours and hours, and they addressed our additional concerns because this fire just didn't want to completely go out. It's still smoldering. And they reassured us and came out and had a look at it and told us it would be okay. So kudos to everybody that was there, Chris, and everybody that does that job. It's quite a job to do on a volunteer basis. It's just truly astounding. And the speed with which you respond and the professionalism with which you deal with people that are very distraught. We lost all of our horses in that fire and my little flock of chickens. So we were pretty upset, and they dealt with it with professionalism and compassion, and we just can't say enough good. Thank you so very much. And please make sure they all know that.
For sure, Councillor Anderson. I'll pass that on to the group because the group loves to hear that and know that they help when they can. So I'll pass it on, and we are sorry for your loss that morning. That was a rotten morning for all involved.
Sure was. Yep, it sure was. Thank you. And I will hand the chair back to Mayor Bridge.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson, and welcome Marco as well. And I'm really looking forward to this experiment. It's not an experiment anymore. It's running and working. And Chris, kudos to you and getting the team working together. And I see great things coming out of this. And it's a template for other things we can work together in our municipalities. So looking forward to seeing results and seeing that you already got some savings. That's great. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson.
Nice to have you back. Looking good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. All right, next up, we have Ashley is going to do a talk about where are we here? 24 George Street North.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, you need a recommendation.
Sorry, it was for
fire report. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's not me. That's Councillor Anderson. Sorry.
Me, I'm sorry. If I could have somebody make a motion to accept that report. Deputy Mayor Turton and a seconder. Councillor Gunson, all in favor? That's passed. Thank you. My apologies.
No problem. I dropped that too, Councillor Anderson. I didn't realize you hadn't done that. Ashley, do you want to take over?
Yes, so this is for a part lot control exemption. So the subject property is located off of George Street. It was previously rezoned to a site-specific medium density residential to develop into 23 townhouse units. So a part lot control exemption is needed to allow the lot to legally be split so that each townhome unit can have separate and distinct ownership. So these lots will be parcels of tied land, so they will be tied to a private condominium road, which is how the future owners will access the units. So there was actually already a part lot control granted that expired June 27, 2020. And this is where the developer is looking to re-implement this part lot control so they have enough time to finish the units and sell them off separately. So this bylaw, we are now proposing a 3-year time frame in the case of any unknown delays. However, the project's not expected to take that long. We're figuring around 6 months to a year, but we just want to be safe and ensure that the applicant does not have another case of this lapsing and having to reapply and go through this whole process again. So the initial delays were surrounding the pandemic and just really things that could not have been planned for or expected at the time of the passing of the 1-year part lot control. And in consultation with Linda at the county, she said that it's not uncommon for development to have a 2 or 3 year part lot control just based on where they're at in the building process and how many units they're building. Town staff is satisfied with all the conditions addressed in the site plan agreement as that still stands. And the recommendation is that council receives the report and considers passing a bylaw in open session.
Thanks, Ashley. And I have a recommendation here moved by Councillor Gusson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Turton. The Council of Town of Minto receives the planning technician's report regarding part lot control exemption application for Quality Developments, Inc. The property legally described as part of part lots 4, 5, and 6 northeast of George Street, and parts 1, 2 of Plan 61R 21585 in the former town of Harrison with the municipal address of 24 George Street North, town of Minto, and considers passing the bylaw in open session. Questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Don't see any. Passed. Okay. And this one here, I believe, Councilor Dirksen, is this the one that you're declaring? So if you want.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'll turn that over to Ashley to present this one.
All right. So this one is for a severance for 64656 line. So this property is located in Minto, and it is being considered before the Land Division Committee for the County of Wellington as a surplus farm dwelling severance to sever roughly 3 acres of land with an existing single-family detached home and accessory shed, and retain 61 acres with an existing agricultural use. So the retained property does currently have a legal non-conforming trailer dwelling on it, and the applicant has indicated that the use for both the severed and retained lands will continue, and they are not going to be changed. So town staff were reviewed and circulated the application. And the following comments we have addressed as conditions, which is on the first page of the report. So there are 7 conditions. We would expect that zoning compliance must be obtained for the retained lands to prohibit residential development. So that's on the bigger farm parcel. Zoning relief must be obtained for the severed lands, as when you reduce that lot size, the maximum ground floor area is going to be exceeded for the shed. An encroachment agreement will be required, as the survey in the report shows that the legal non-conforming trailer encroaches onto town property. And then pretty standard conditions here for a surplus farm dwelling. Satisfactory access arrangements need to be confirmed to both the severed and retained lands, and an apportionment will need to be completed for the severed and retained lands. And standard financial conditions must be met. Maitland Valley had no objections, and Wellington Source Water Protection screened out the application with no concerns. So the recommendation is that council recommends the Land Division Committee approve the application with the 7 conditions attached on the report.
Okay. Do you want me to, read all those 7 conditions? You're all right with that? Okay, good. Okay, anybody got any, I'll do the moved by Councilor McKenzie, second by Councilor Anderson. The council of the town of Minto recommends the County of Wellington Land Division Committee approve consent application B 11720, Dennison Carroll Harper, Lot 1, Concession 6, with a municipal address of 6465 6 Line, town of Minto, with the following conditions be considered, and there's 7 conditions. Any questions or concerns or you would like to bring up at this point in time? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Good, carried. Thank you. You can bring Councillor Dirksen back. And then we have Ashley with, I believe, another one. Very busy tonight, Ashley.
This is the last one I'm going to bug everyone with. So this is for the rezoning of the Heinmiller and Clark subdivision. So we recently brought it forward to you guys at the last council meeting to seek an endorsement for the extension of the draft plan of subdivision. So that was actually approved by the county. So the extension is now until December of 2022. So that being said, one of the conditions of this draft plan of subdivision is the rezoning of the subject lands for the lower portion of the property. A public meeting was already held in 2015, and the rezoning is probably easier to describe it based on the image I put in the report, but it is for a rezoning from agricultural to residential for 22 single detached homes, 8 semi-detached, and 10 townhome units, as well as open space that will be utilized for the stormwater management and buffer area. So this rezoning satisfies condition 3 of the draft plan of subdivision, and as the purpose and effect remains the same as the public meeting that was previously held, it was deemed that another public meeting did not need to be held. So this really can be looked at as more of a housekeeping amendment. It was already brought forward. We just need a bylaw signed. Prior to the public meeting, all relevant internal and external agencies and landowners were circulated, and any comments, concerns from things like Canada Post and hydro companies and all that fun stuff was included as conditions in the draft plan of subdivision. Wellington County indicated that they were in favor of the application as it generally conforms to their official plan and provincial policies. And the recommendation is that council receives this report for information and considers passing this bylaw in open session.
Thank you, Ashley. And I got moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Dirksen, The Council of Town of Minto receives the planning technician's report on the proposed rezoning application ZBA 2015-03, Clark High Miller, part lot, concession 1, former town of Palmerston, for information and considers passing a bylaw in open session. Any concerns or comments? Councillor Elliott.
I just want to thank Ashley. She does a great job of explaining all this stuff to us and keep it in my brain. And it's a lot easier for how you explain it. And thank you so much. You do a great job.
Thank you.
For Ashley, yeah. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. I'll turn the chair over to Councillor Dirksen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this evening, Public Works has no less than 6 items on the agenda. I don't think we've ever had that many on one agenda. They're going to come from 3 of our staff and 2 reports each. So we're going to start off with Mike Doucette.
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. First report is going to be for the DWQMS 2020 external audit outcomes. The audit was conducted on November 9th and November 16th of 2020. It was for a 3-year reaccreditation audit. The audit accreditation last year was for our implementation to DWQMS 2.0. The outcomes of the 2020 external audit were that we are now accredited for the next 3 years. So our new expiry date is December 2nd of 2023. There were no non-conformances to come out of it. There were 6 OFIs or opportunities for improvement that came out of it, and they relate to the QMS operational plan endorsement by council, documents and record controls, roles and responsibilities, communication with the public, calibration and maintenance, and continual improvement. All are very minor, and most of them have been already dealt with as of this point. So yeah, that's it for that one. Pretty short and sweet.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from any member of council? Everybody's froze but me. I wonder what that means. Are there any questions from anyone, any members of council? Okay, I don't see any, so I'm going to read the recommendation moved by Deputy Mayor Turton and seconded by Councillor Gunson that the Council of the Town of Minto receive the DWQMS Representatives 2020 External Audit Outcomes Report, and that all council members review, approve, and endorse the report. One more chance for questions. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Somebody's going to have to help me because I can only see Councillor Gunson's hand go up. Everybody else is not.
Sorry, yes, all their hands are going up. Councillor Dirksen.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I have rural high speed here. Okay, so our next item is Mike Doucette back to the plate, and this is for the management review. Could you bring us that report, please, Mike?
What's that?
Could you bring us the next report?
Okay, yep. So this one's for the 2020 management review. Our meeting was conducted on December 9th of 2020. The key highlights from it, our inspection results are from the MOE were 100% except for a bit of an incident at Minto Pines relating to some 5-minute SCADA data that was lost due to a power transfer from the generator to our UPS alternative power supply unit. So that brought us down to a 95 score for that. So just under 100, but still not quite. There was 5 adverse water results in this reporting period. 3 are from the incident out at Minto Pines, and 2 are from Palmerston, just routine samples that had a total coliform for some strange reason, but resampled and everything came back fine for that. There was 5 water main breaks occurring from October 2019 to September 30th of 2020. All of our main breaks were classed as category 1, which was no evidence of possible contamination from the source or from surface water or anything. This internal or management review, just due to the timeline of it, encompassed 2 external audits, our 2019, which I already brought to you earlier last year, our 2020 external or internal audit report, which had no nonconformances and 6 opportunities for improvement. Our 2020 external audit, which I just went over, had no nonconformances and once again 6 opportunities for improvement. Water complaints, for high water bills and data logging, downloading continue to be our biggest complaint. Our complaints are down to 63 this year, or from 2020 from 84 in 2019. That could have something to do with George Street North, the water quality there, but we're still trending in the direction that we want to see as few as complaints as possible. Typically, our high water meter bills are caused by issues due to homeowners' internal plumbing, leaky toilet, or just anything else in there. Sampling, in 2018, the arsenic MAC limit was lowered from 25 micrograms per liter to 10 micrograms per liter. This has resulted in Minto having to sample Clifford systems quarterly for arsenic, as we have results that exceed half of the standard, which is half would be 5 micrograms per liter. The average result for well 1 in Clifford for 2020 was 8.3, and for well number 4 was 7.1. So we're staying under that 10 micrograms per liter mark. Earlier this year, we had an incident where we've been collecting extra samples to try and get more to the root cause of the arsenic and how to better eliminate it from our pumping system without resorting to secondary treatment. And we had raw results over 10. We've resampled, and our treated results have all come back below 10 micrograms per liter. So we've dipped our toe into what the next steps would be, but we're not there yet. So hopefully that was just a blip and we can stay under the 10. Some other big things that went on in 2020 is Minto is currently in the middle of our municipal drinking water license renewals. We are currently in the waiting stages for the MOE's review and approval. We're also in the middle of a renewal for our Palmerston permit to take water license. Burnside engineers have submitted that application in December of 2020. So we once again are awaiting to hear any comment from the MOE or any concerns on that front, and haven't heard anything as of yet. Water consumption projected for 2020 is going to be up than previous years. We suspect this is because of, once again, COVID and more consumers staying at home and not going to work and whatnot. But keeping that in mind, we also might see increases in consumption just based on our growing development and whatnot that way throughout Minto. There was approximately 40 new water meters issued since the end of 2019. Some big ticket items that also occurred in 2020 were the Harrison Tower. was down for a couple weeks to complete some repairs and some items that were noted in previous tower inspections. The Palmerston Tower also had its inspections this year, and they tested the exterior coating of the tower and found it to be viable for a tower overcoat, which is going to need to be done within the next year to 2 years. Let's see. Oh, and one last big ticket thing is, and this is for this year, there's a projected projected new well that is possible for Minto Pines. This is due to the existing well casing, production well casing showing signs of deterioration, which could pose an issue to our Minto Pines only drinking water source right now. So this second well would possibly provide a secondary source, a backup well in case that other well becomes more of an issue. And the plan, or it's recommended that we reline the existing well so that that deteriorating casing no longer becomes an issue, since it will be relined. So we'll have two working production wells, with one being a backup if all this ends up going through. And this is based on below grade well inspections from previous years. And that's pretty much all the big highlights from 2020's management review. Any questions?
Okay, thanks, Mike. I see Deputy Mayor Turton's hand.
Thank you, Chair Dirksen. Mike, excellent report. I mean, you guys do a great job. The town of Minto, the citizens of our town are extremely fortunate to have such good people looking after our water issues.
Thank you very
guys
much.
come with good results every year, and opportunities for improvement. I mean, that's a great way to put that. Opportunities for improvement in such a way that you're on them and you got them all worked out quickly. My question is, how old's the well out at Minto Pines, and how deep is it? Any idea?
I'm
You
not.
can get back to me.
Yeah, Todd, do you know the ages or specs on that? I just don't off the top of my head.
That well's 38 years old.
That's right.
Really?
Yes.
Pushing 40 years.
Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, well, I just want to echo Deputy Mayor's Turton's comments. Thanks, Mike. We really appreciate all the work that you and the entire water team do for us. We own this water system as council, and we're supposed to be managing it, but really there's a great deal of trust involved, because obviously we don't know much about it. And we really appreciate your work and your explaining what's going on there in a way that we can understand it as well. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much.
I will read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor McKenzie and seconded by Councillor Elliott. The Council of the Town of Minto receives the water foreman's. Nope, wait a minute. Let's back up. Moved by Mayor Bridge and seconded by Councillor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the DWQMS representatives December 9th, 2020 DWQMS management review, as well as the management review meeting outcome report, and that all council members review, approve, and endorse the reports, as well as their commitment to the drinking water quality management standard and the DWQMS operational plan. So one last chance for questions. I do not see any hands, so I will call the question. All in favor? Oh, I see a couple of hands. Can you help me? Did that carry?
All in favor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you, Mike, and we're going to move on to our water foreman Todd Rogers, still talking about water?
Good evening. Yeah, I've got two reports here tonight. The first one that we'll talk about is the bulk water report. So we have a bulk water policy. Basically, two of the requirements in it are that we don't exceed 0.725% of the total consumption from the previous year for all the Minto's water systems. And the second requirement is that I give you this report to tell you how much water we sold the previous year. So last year we sold 1,745 cubes of water. That equated to 0.26% of the total consumption of water for Minto. So we're well under that 0.725. And financially, that equated to $6,704 to the municipality for bulk water. That's pretty much it for that report. If anybody has any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Elliott, I can't see him, so.
There he's back on. No questions.
7.5.
His screen is off for not seeing any questions, so I will read the resolution that moved by Councillor McKenzie and seconded by Councillor Elliott. This is the one that I already did half of it. That Council of the Town of Minto receives the water foreman's bulk water taking annual summary 2020 report for information. Okay, and all in favor of that?
Everyone raised their hands.
Oh, Deputy Mayor Turton's in favor. I can't see anybody else.
Everyone raised their hands.
This is bad. Okay, so still staying with the water theme and water foreman Todd Rogers. Could you bring your second report, please?
Yeah, the second report here is actually the tender results for the Palmerston Tower painting that Mike had mentioned there. So we ended up getting 5 tenders back in. Believe that they were good prices. The lowest tendered price was from JD CMI at $224,200. This is a company that's been in business painting towers for 40 plus years and comes highly recommended. Yeah, so that's who both, if you've seen the attached letter from Triton, who has worked with this company on numerous tower paintings, they recommend, and I also recommend, just to make sure everybody's aware of the scope of the work. This is an overcoat, so that means we paint over the existing paint that's on there. They do touch-ups, surface repairs, and also when this tower's down, we'll be doing a full wash and inspection of the inside and touch-ups as required on the interior as well.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Are there any questions?
For you, Councillor.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott, you're muted.
Yes, I am. I'm surprised you saw my hand. It took a while, right? The question is,
It was like this.
The question is, this is the one where you put colors on. The colors are staying the same, and letters and so on. Town of Minto, Palmerston, same idea.
Yeah, so at this time, definitely, like, we're gonna have to talk to the contractor to see if there's any concerns around colors. Back when these towers were originally painted, there was concerns around certain colors being more UV affected by UV and break down quicker. So once we get talking to the new contractor, as of right now, the plans are to keep it the same unless there is some concerns brought to light, and then at which time, if there was concerns, we'd definitely come back and have that discussion.
Yeah, I think that the colors were there, and you know this probably, they were there because they matched the Grand Trunk colors, and the same as the museum and so on. All the different colors were tried to stay the same. So that's probably the reason why we'd like to keep it that way. Good.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. Okay, are there any other questions or concerns? Okay, I'm going to read the recommendation moved by Councillor Gunson and seconded by Deputy Mayor Turner Turton, sorry, the council of the town of Minto receives the report from the water foreman dated February 16th, 2021 regarding the repainting of the Palmerston Tower contract results. And further that the council of the town of Minto awards a contract to Jacques Dous Coating Management, Inc., JDCMI, for the total price of $224,200 plus HST. Doesn't sound like too much if you say it fast. Further questions? Okay, all in favor?
Yes,
That
all
passed.
hands.
Yes, okay, I got it that time. Okay, and thank you, Todd, for your reports tonight. And we're going to move on to our roads and drainage manager, and he's going to talk to us about the Wellington Road Master Action Plan.
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. So this item is just a result of County Councillor Anderson, their last meeting. He briefly touched on the county's road master action plan, and then we have since received the notice of commencement of this project. And attached in the report, I took a little snip of the actual public engagement piece, and that's where the public was able to voice any concerns regarding speed, dangerous intersections, possible improvements to certain areas, pedestrian conflicts with vehicles, that sort of thing. And with that, I've put on there like some of the concerns regarding the speed around Upper Drew there on County Road 2. There's some concerns regarding the bends on County Road 2, as well as on the County Road 6 off the 12th line. There's still a yield sign actually there that enters onto County Road 6 there, which is one of the only ones in the area that I'm aware of. And it's just looking at some of that, those items that have been public concerns over the years. And then with this master action plan, it's going to provide the county with a long-term plan. They're thinking probably close to about 40 years. A lot of the issues that we currently have here, like even in Palmerston, with some of the speeds coming into town by the high school and TG Minnow there, a lot of those will be addressed when we come up with the downtown project there, and all these concerns will be looked at and addressed during that construction period. And then a lot of the items that you'll see here are focused a lot more to the south of the county, and I believe that's just due to the population impacts and the growth rates in these areas. We've already seen the roundabouts put in place here over the last number of years, which they're starting to implement a few more of them to the south, as well as some lane widenings and intersection improvements throughout those areas. I guess at this point, if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Okay, I'm not seeing anybody with questions. So good report, thank you. This recommendation moved by Councillor McKenzie and seconded by Councillor Anderson. The Council of the Town of Minto received the County of Wellington Road Master Action Plan report for information. All in favor?
Councillor Dirksen, Mayor Bridge had his hand up.
Okay, sorry, Mayor Bridge.
You just got starting, Councillor Dirksen, on your thing, and when you read, you can't see me. I understand that.
No,
anyway, just on that, Mike, and you talked about the fact that the community had an opportunity, and I like your second piece of the report showing what the county sent out there. Did we get an idea of what concerns that our residents sent in? Did they give you a report back?
So we haven't seen the results of the public engagement piece at this point. I believe there's the next meeting with the county is scheduled for sometime in March.
Okay.
And that's with the Dillon Consulting Group, and then the member municipalities and the representatives, along with the MTO and the local law enforcement are also included in these meetings as well.
Okay, that's great to know. You know, the reason I asked that is it'd be nice to see whether the ones we've identified over the years that people have given us identification are there, and we don't, not missing anything that
Yep.
if somebody decided not to bother talking about it this time, and we want to make sure it gets on the list. That's all.
Yeah, and I did notice with that public engagement piece, some of the items that I had included in on there. Some of the public did comment in favor of, or also commenting on those items as well. Yep.
Excellent. Thanks, Councillor Dirksen. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, is there anyone else with a question? Councillor McKenzie, did you have a question? Okay, sorry. All right. So I will. Where am I? I'm not sure where I am.
You already read it.
Oh, I have to call the question.
Yeah.
I just have to call the question, right? All in favor? Yeah, nobody, they're all frozen, Annaline. I'm gonna need help
Yeah, all
again.
hands are up. All hands are up.
There you go.
Thank you. All right, and the second item on the agenda from our roads and drainage manager, I'll move that to you now, Mike.
Okay, thanks. So the second item is the tender results for the 12th line culvert replacements. There is three culverts out there. One that is about 3 meters, and the other two are in around 1 meter in diameter. The one was a failure from a beaver dam that let go on us there about 4 years ago. So that's correcting that issue. And then the one larger culvert out there, that's the one that shows up on our biannual OSM reports, and it only had about 3 years, 4 years left in its useful life there with our last OSM inspections. And then also with this project, we would be doing the waterproofing on the bridge decks. There's the 2 bridges that are out there, as well as the installation of some guide rail to mitigate some of the local concerns in the bends and in around those structures in that area. So with this tender price, it actually came in at a reasonable price, under budget. And it's a local, well, our local contractor, the Murray Group, that had the low bid, and it is ideal in this location for them to complete the work. So then minimal impacts on their schedule, as well as CBM in that local or in that general vicinity, that they can work closely with keeping their schedules intact there. Is there any questions with that one?
Okay, I'm not seeing any and I'm not hearing any, so I'm going to assume there are none. I'm going to read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor. Yes. Sorry, Mayor Bridge.
Mayor Bridge appears to be frozen at this time.
Yeah. It is a cold night.
Oh.
Gotta love that rural internet.
Do we wait? Or I can read the recommendation.
Read the recommendation.
Go back. Sure. Moved by Councillor Elliott and seconded by Mayor Bridge, that Council of the Town of Minto receives the report from the Roads and Drainage Manager dated February 16th, 2021 regarding the 12th line culvert replacement tender results. And further, that the Council of the Town of Minto awards the contract to the Murray Group Limited for the total price of $314,021.25 plus HST. Again, you have to read it fast. Okay, Mayor Bridge, are you unfroze? It looks frozen to me.
He is still frozen, but you do have quorum still. Looks like he may have gone out to come back in.
I think I'm back. I just went, all of a sudden I went south. I said, Judy, you were frozen, and then I just got kicked off. So there you go.
Okay, well, the only screens I have, the only people I can see now are Annaline and myself and George. Oh, and there's Deputy. Oh, we're all coming back now.
Okay, we all got kicked off then. It was a Zoom thing.
There's a lot of hiccups tonight, that's for sure. Okay, so I have read the recommendation for those of you who checked out there for a moment. So I'm ready to call the question. All in favor? Oh, I see Mayor George Bridge's hand. I don't see anybody else's hand, so. I need
All
help
hands
again.
went up. Councillor Dirksen.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for your reports tonight, Mike. And I will so gladly hand this chair back to Mayor Bridge.
I'll get rid of it really quickly and give it over to Deputy Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Tonight we've got 3 items on the treasury, and we have our treasurer Duff here. We want to talk about the section 357 applications. Gord, so go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Chair Turton. Yes, our first one is a quick one. So 357s, if you recall, are generally physical changes to a property. So here we have a house removed and a barn removed, and the total dollars are pretty small, $597 in total. So it's pretty straightforward. So
Any questions for our treasurer on this? Hearing none, moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor McKenzie, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the February 2021 report from Treasurer and Revenue Coordinator regarding Section 357 applications, and that these applications be approved. No questions for Gord. All in favor of that motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you. The second item then is Treasurer and Revenue Coordinator minutes of settlement. Gord, go ahead.
Great. Thank you. So this one's a little more to it. These are minutes of settlement, which generally go to the Assessment Review Board. So the first section is ones that have what they call updated structure data. So that's when MPAC has reviewed it, saw that there's going to be a change, maybe a modification to the property or that. And again, the first batch, relatively small amounts, but quite a few, mostly in the rural area, with one in Harrison. And as you can note, the amounts of the assessment changes are relatively small. And that's that batch. Then we have ones where they've issued an amended assessment notice. So that may be due to an improvement in the property, which is the first 3. Or we have some interesting ones that are in our downtown. You see a lot of CT removed, XT added. So CT is existing commercial and XT is new commercial. There's the new classes. And so these are kind of good. These are for some of our renovated downtown buildings. They were renovated maybe a couple of years ago, but now the assessment changes are coming through. So there's quite a few changes to the assessment classification. We've also got maybe a change in use. So if you have a property that was maybe commercial and is now residential, that falls under this section too. And last, we have one of the infamous FTRT flips. So this is where a property has come out of the farmland class, maybe due to lack of filing forms or a property sale or something, gets caught up, and now it's taken out of the residential class and back into farmland. So again, these dollars are a little bigger. So I'll certainly entertain any questions.
Questions for our treasurer? Seeing none. We have Councillor Gunson moving this, Councillor Elliott seconding it. Recommendation that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the February 2021 report from the Treasurer and Revenue Coordinator regarding assessment adjustments, and that these adjustments be approved. No other questions? All in favor of that motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you. And the last item we have on the list here is the tax levy impact.
Great.
Gord?
Thank you, Chair Turton. So this is for information, both for taxpayers and for council. We passed our budget in the fall. There were still some regulatory changes that come through every year. One of which is the education taxes, which are set provincially. Also, the county had to process its budget and its tax levy. And now we have everything. Again, this is kind of a unique year. This is the fifth year of our 4-year cycle that we're going in for. So MPAC is still processing changes to properties, such as like what we just saw due to assessment reclassifications or additions or removals of property. So that does have an impact on the assessments, and that's why they're not exactly the same in 2020 as they are for 2021. Just going through where most people are concerned, it's the average house, and when I say average, I mean median. So that means half the properties are below this value, half are above, and the tax rates are based on. Becomes a bit of a mechanical process. Once the levies are set, and if you recall, ours was up by about 1.5%, then all the different assessment classes are calculated. So if you have more commercial properties and fewer residential, that'll have an impact, or vice versa. And it's constantly changing. But overall, I guess the important figure is that our local change is only 0.6%, $8. And for an average property, that translates to a combined level of 1.6% or $50. The other things that you probably notice is there are large changes in commercial and industrial taxes, and primarily that's caused by a decrease in what they call the business education tax. So the province, and I think it's part of a recognition of those sectors have had a rough year with COVID. So they've decided to reduce the overall tax rate for these properties to 0.088. And that's had quite a significant impact. And again, your typical average property, both commercial and industrial, is going to see tax decreases this year. For multi-residential, Minto has a very limited number, so slight changes in a few properties will really change their average. And it looks like a big increase, but really it's almost directly assessment related. So we've gone from an average or median of 700 to 794. The actual tax effect in the levies is small. And farmland, again, it's kind of unusual. It looks like the average assessment went down. That is mostly due to these FTRT flips, where we have some properties that should be in the farmland class gone to residential. This will all get corrected as we go along, but again, it gives you a little bit of a quirk. So anyway, we have all the information in, and that is the effect on your typical property. So again, any questions?
Questions for our treasurer, Mr. Duff? That's exciting stuff, Gord.
Good way to end the meeting. Yeah.
So we motioned by Mayor Bridge, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the 2021 tax levy impacts report. No further questions? All in favor of that motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much, Gord.
Thank you.
And I'll pass the chair back to our mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Turton. And I've got other businesses disclosed. And Jean, I think you had, did you have one down?
But I already spoke to it when the.
Okay, I wondered if that was, yeah, and yeah, that's okay. Thanks, Jean. I'm just going to give you I actually not even that much of an update, because we are going to be live, Derek and I, on Thursday, and do a report on our live Facebook report. So I'll hold most of it to then. But we're getting information coming along as far as a couple of things from the public health unit. They had their application in to do their vaccine push out when we get vaccines. And that was sent to the province and approved and looks good. And we'll maybe talk a little bit about that in a future date. The other thing is we're, unfortunately, as you know, vaccines were shorted up a little bit in Canada again this time around, but they're still working towards getting everybody their second vaccine at the nursing homes going forward and starting into the next group as soon as they can. But again, they're somewhat hands tied. The other thing is, as you've seen, if you're following their the public health dashboard, we did slip back into orange, actually orange category, but again, we won't be moving from red and probably for a week or so, as we have to make sure those numbers stay there. But we are back into red, and you heard from the Economic Development Group today that, and we'll talk a bit about that on Thursday too. There's a lot of neat plans going on as far as shop local and keeping our businesses alive as best we can. So that's about it I had. And anybody else got anything? Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor Dirksen. The Committee of the Whole convenes the regular council meeting.
For you, Mayor Bridge, sorry.
Sorry.
CAO Thompson would like to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry, Derek. I didn't, were you on there? I didn't even see you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a bit of clarification for council from the public meeting for the Palmerston OPA tonight. We will be including those questions in the public record, and we will be endeavoring to answer those questions back to those folks. So if you are receiving emails, we are going to include those questions in the public record, and we will be getting answers back to those folks as we move forward. The other thing I just received, or I received a message from Bill White, who had a power failure just at the end there.
I wondered where you went.
Bill just wanted me to express to you his thanks for all your support as we went through this process. So I just wanted to pass that along. And on that note, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Okay. Councillor Elliott, sorry, you had your opportunity. No, go ahead. You got your big hand up there.
They're not
you can't see you with a hand like this. Like.
Just a couple of things. We're in red this week, and there's stipulations where we go in red. Like, for example, only so many people in the arena, and I know our minor hockey and minor teams get to participate, but I don't think any adult. If we were to slip back into orange by next week and some adult teams want to get available, I don't know whether we're going to accept that. Or I also heard rumor, and I don't know this for a fact, I heard rumor that we had some minor hockey teams from another organization want to practice in our arenas too. I don't know whether that's true or not.
Okay.
If that's
well, I think we'll get some clarification on that. Derek, did you want to talk about that right now, or did you want to wait? And
sure, I can speak to it right now. So members of council, while we're in the red controlled zone, we are only renting our ice to residents of Minto at this point in time. If in fact we do move to orange in the coming weeks, we'll reevaluate where we are at that time. As you know, we've only got the one arena running, and we've got minor hockey and both figure skating wanting to use the arena. So we'll have to evaluate that if in fact we do move to orange. So that's where we stand right now. But as of now, we're in red controlled. We'll only rent to residents of Minto that follow the public health guidelines that are laid out under red control right now.
That's fantastic that the kids are getting out in the ice again. I think it's great. And I was just afraid if it happens that we can rent to more adult people or more people within the community when it goes to orange. I'm sure we will.
Certainly, and through you, Mr. Mayor, what I forgot to mention is we will hopefully start up registered public skating again too. If you remember right. We registered public skating, so we're eager to get that back going too, to give the kids and really the residents of Minto to try to get out and experience some of that as well. So
great.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. Okay, where did I go here? Where am I, Annalene?
Sorry, through you, Mayor Bridge. You were going to, resolution was moved by Deputy Mayor Turton and seconded by Councillor Dirksen that the committee of the whole convenes into regular council meeting.
All in favor of that? Opposed, if any, none. Okay, good. Any notice of motion? Seeing none. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. The Council of Town of Minto ratifies motions made in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Carried. Okay, bylaws. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the bylaw number 2021-14 to exempt park lot control for lands being part of park lots 4, 5, and 6 northeast of George Street and parts 1 and 2 in Plan 61R 2158-5 in the former town of Harriston, town of Minto under section 57.1 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 is amended, be introduced, read first and second and third time and passed over to Council seal the corporation. All in favor? Opposed, any, none. Okay. Moved by Councillor Gutson, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, the bylaw number 2021-15 to amend the zoning bylaw of 0186 is amended by rezoning 300 Toronto Street and 600 Wellington Road, 123 Palmerston, town of Minto, be introduced, read first, second, and third time and passed over to Council seal the corporation. All in favor? Opposed, none. Okay. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Anderson, that the bylaw number 2021-16 to amend zoning bylaw 0186 is amended by rezoning 57 King Street, Harriston, town of Minto from residential flood fringe overlay R1C FF1 to residential flood fringe overlay R2 FF1. Be introduced, read first and second and third time and passed over to Council to seal the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Gunson, that the bylaw number 2021-17 to amend zoning bylaw 0186 as amended by rezoning part lot 23 concession 1 Palmerston, town of Minto, be introduced, read first, second, and third time and passed over to Council to seal the corporation. All in favor? Opposed? None. Okay. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, the bylaw number 2021-18 to confirm the actions of the Council of the Corporation of Town of Minto be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed to open Council to seal the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Anderson, the Council of Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor? Thanks to everybody for a good meeting. It was a little longer, but